Hi guys, my name is Brandon, and last year in 2018, I got a 5 on AP Euro. If you're watching this video, you might be utterly confused, totally on top of it, or you're self-studying, or whatever. I mean, you could be anywhere in this class, and I'm telling you, you can get a 5 if you turn it around at this point. Right now, it's January, you have a couple months leading up to the exam, and I know for a lot of people, AP Euro is their first AP course, and it can be challenging and confusing, but I promise you, if you put all your effort to it, and you practice, and you just put in the work, you can get a 5. Before I get into my tips, let's talk about the exam. So to get a 5, you need to get 75% or higher. Okay, that doesn't seem that bad. It honestly isn't. And I know people really stress over the multiple choice because it's like 45% of your... I don't even worry about it that much. I took 2 practice tests leading up to the exam. The first one I got a 4, the second one I got a 5. I'm going to be referencing those a lot because I think they were really helpful at evaluating my strengths and weaknesses. But whenever I took those practice tests, I think the first one, when I got a 4, I got a 70% on the multiple choice. And the second one that I got a 5 on, I only got a 50% on multiple choice. So really don't stress over it. The writing is where you're going to pull your main points, like the SAQs, the DBQ, and your LEQ. That's where you're going to get your points. So don't worry about the multiple choice. I think it's a good start and it's a good base score, but it's something that you don't need to get an 80% or higher on to get a 5, or certainly to pass. Also, this is just a really quick tip that helped me. Before, when you just get to that DBQ and LEQ section, do not even start your DBQ. You need to look at the prompt, and you also, before you even start charting, just go to the LEQ because you're not going to be stressing, and I would just circle a topic that you're going to do. Look at the topics really quick and just choose one. I mean, don't start setting up, but that's what helped me. I saw my DBQs on 30 Years War, flipped to the LEQs, and then I was like, okay, I'm circling this one, I'm doing this one, I'm not going to let my stressed out 25-minute left self change my mind. I really don't have that many tips for just the exam itself other than that one about circling your LEQ. I mean, for the reading on the multiple choice, you should read the subtitle thing on what it has to say, the subtext about the document, then look at the document, and then do the questions. Don't spend too much time reading the entire document if that's not for you, but there's going to be some answers that you can really suggest from the document, and then some you need to know outside knowledge for. Okay, now tips for preparing for the exam. Your primary source of information should be your class unless you're self-studying. So I didn't even take AP Euro. I took Honors Modern Europe and the World, and the AP test was optional for us, but it was basically the same class. And, you know, I still did fine. Your class, when you take notes, when you do homework, that's all going to help you for the exam, whether you think it does or doesn't. I mean, pay attention to your teacher, even if you don't like them. I really liked my teacher. Your teacher knows so much on this topic, and that's all they're going to be teaching you is throughout the year. So just pay attention. Like, they're trying to help you take the exam because they want their class to do well, because they get praised when they do their job right. And like, the teachers want you to do well, you want to do well, and your parents probably want you to do well. Really, everyone wants to do well. It's not like anyone's rooting for you to fail. The curve isn't based on how other people do. I'm pretty sure. I think it's just on if you meet that like 75% mark, that's how you get a 5, or 60% for the 4, or whatever it is. Okay, so after you use the class for your primary source of information, I would know what kind of outside information is going to help you get outside knowledge and extra knowledge for the exam. Because I did so much studying outside of class, there's no way I think that you can get a 5 with just only sitting in the class. I mean, if you're really taking that class seriously, I guess, but you should be reading the textbook if that helps you. What helped me was watching videos. I would really suggest Tom Ritchie or Crash Course World History. There's all sorts of sources on YouTube that you can use that people just give lectures about certain topics or certain wars. That's really helpful. I would say use your time efficiently. This isn't a whole point, but I started really studying multiple hours a week the 3 weeks leading up to the exam. And I wouldn't say don't study too much the day of the exam. I mean, the night before, yeah, you should be reviewing a little. That's what I did, but don't stay up way too late because you're going to have to get up and take the exam in the morning, and you just want your mind to be fresh. I mean, I was like stressing like right before the exam. I was like asking people questions and everyone's just panicking, but just really stay calm. You know the information, you prepared all of it up to this point. Okay, so yeah, the 3 weeks before the exam I think are the most important. My third point is to organize some sort of study plan. You don't need to actually write one down. Mine was just kind of in my head. But this book right here, I'm going to put the link to buy it in the description. It's the Crash Course World History book on AP European History. I mean, that book really helped me. And the 3 weeks before the exam, I was like, okay, I'm going to read like 40 to 50 pages a night. And I just finished it. I read the whole thing before the exam. And it's honestly not that bad. It's just bullet points on certain topics. And there's about 300 pages or so, and it also has tips on how to write a well-scoring DBQ and other things, but mainly I just focused on the content itself in the book. So yeah, leading up to the exam, I read this whole book, and I also watched probably 45 of Tom Ritchie's videos. I mean, that's throughout the year. 3 weeks before, I probably maybe watched like 20 on topics I became unfamiliar with or didn't remember. My fourth tip is, this might not even be available in your class, but definitely take the practice tests if your teacher offers them. There's some online. You could even just look at the past year's exams and try to answer those questions. You don't have to do the whole thing, but try to think of possible answers. And then they have answer keys online, and you can actually look at what are possible answers, and you can score it yourself. But my teacher offered us 2 practice tests. I took both of them. The first one, it was 2 weeks before the exam. I got a 4. And then the second one, I got a 5, and that was a week before the exam. And I studied more in between. But if you take it a couple weeks before, you can find those final pinpoints of areas that you need to focus or brush up on, because I remember I took the first practice test and I was like, shoot, I don't really know period 4 that well. Brush up on it. I mean, I still didn't know it that much by the time of the exam, but it really helped me find out where my areas of weaknesses were and my areas of strength. All right, guys, that's really all I have. Just to review, I would say get this book, watch Tom Ritchie's videos, or read the textbook a lot if that works for you, and you'll all be fine. I know it was my first AP exam, and I know it's a lot of people's, but it's going to be okay. It's a lot of information, obviously. It's like 550 years you're going to be covering, but when you read these books and watch the videos, you put everything together in the last 2 weeks of the exam into this huge timeline, and it really all starts to click. So wish you the best of luck, and good luck on your exam.